this will come up. I know this will come up in the election next year, but why did you vote against investigating the riot at the Capitol?
Because everything Nancy Pelosi does is political. Everything she does is politicized.
Okay. It's personal. It's about Nancy Pelosi. You don't care about why 5 people were killed and dozens were wounded and a scaffold was set up outside and the Speaker's office was ransacked and so forth. You don't want to look into that at all?
Errol, I think we have a lot of the answers to that already, and that is why people are being prosecuted according to the law. Look, I think you're being very political right now in saying this, because Nancy Pelosi set up a committee that is completely political. And at the end of the day, I believe that my constituents care about that they're paying so much more for gas prices, that they can't afford to put food on the table.
I get it. I get it. You think it's entirely political
that
there's an you think it's entirely political that there's an investigation of the attack on the Capitol.
It's unfortunate you don't want to talk about those issues, because that's what I hear in my district.
I asked you about I asked you about the attack on the Capitol. You're saying the only thing they care about in Staten Island is gas prices?
Nobody in my district ever talks to me about the election. I think everybody's moved on from that.
Okay.
I think what people talk to me about is that the fact that they're paying so much more, the inflation, the cost of goods, the fact that there's a supply chain crisis.
Got it. I think there probably are some people in your district who care about the attack on the Capitol, but we'll have to talk about that another time.
I care about it too, and that's why law enforcement's doing its job.
Okay.
But we should not be politicizing, and I think that's the sad part about it.
I think certifying a presidential election is kind of political no matter what, and then coming in to try and hang the people who are doing the certification is also political. I don't know what else you could call it.
Not for nothing, but when you are so ridiculous, such a partisan hack that an anchor literally laughs in your face, you might want to rethink what you're actually doing in office. This is Errol Lewis doing exactly what a reporter should be doing by not just allowing Republican Nicole Malliotakis to spout off bromides about Nancy Pelosi, but actually following up and calling her out on the absurdity of what she's saying. You can almost see the moment where she realizes, yeah, this might not be a Fox interview. And yet, now you can see why Republicans only do choose to do Fox interviews. Like how, for example, when asked why she voted against the January 6th committee, her only response to starting an investigation is that Nancy Pelosi is political, which is ironic considering Pelosi offered equal subpoena power and an even partisan split on a January 6th commission when it was first brought up. How much less political can you get than that? It was Republicans who turned that down. So if the January 6th committee seems partisan right now, even despite Kinzinger and Cheney being members of it, just remember that Republicans made it what it is. They opted to sit out because their only guiding principle is to oppose anything that Democrats do. And now they're turning around and blaming Pelosi for the fact that they don't feel represented. What is it they say about making your bed? Even Errol points out the ridiculousness that her gut reaction to investigating the events of January 6th is to start wailing about Nancy Pelosi. Not that there was, an insurrection at the US Capitol. Not that people died. Not that police officers were bludgeoned. Not that a mob tried to hang her own party's vice president. None of that is worth investigating because Nicole Malliotakis thinks that Nancy Pelosi is political. If you were wondering whether Republicans' disdain for Democrats is stronger than their desire to protect democracy or defend the Constitution or to represent their constituents, you just got your answer. And of course, the only answer that she can manage to come up with is that gas prices are high. That's her response to an attack on the seat of democracy in the United States of America. That we shouldn't pay any attention because gas prices. Imagine being so blinded by your own partisan hackery that you'd show up on television and claim that no one cares about an attempt to overthrow democracy, literally to install a president who lost the election as the winner, because all her constituents are capable of thinking about are gas prices. They're apparently all just one-issue lemmings obsessing over prices at the pump. I don't know about you guys, but I love it when my elected officials treat me like a fool too. But here's the best part, this very, very, very weak Republican talking point that we shouldn't be politicizing the events of January 6th. Yeah, wouldn't want to politicize that time a politician tried to stage a coup. Wouldn't want to let politics distort our perception of when the guy who lost the election incited a mob of supporters to stop the certification of that election. You quite literally could not find a more political event. I mean, honestly, it is nothing but political. And yet it goes to show how afraid Republicans are to even acknowledge objective reality, that they have to offer desperate excuses to give themselves an out from talking about an attack staged by the leader of their own party. They are so cowering, so deathly afraid of Donald Trump, that all they can do when confronted about the events of January 6th is to pretend that for some reason we're not allowed to talk about it because that makes it political and so it's taboo. It would be laughable if it wasn't so pathetic. The simple fact is that the reason Republicans like Nicole Malliotakis won't talk about January 6th is because they support it. It is as simple as that. If you can't condemn it, then you're in favor of it. And because they know they can't win on the merits, they can't win with any semblance of a platform, instead they just promote the big lie and validate violence to achieve their political ends, because that's all they've got. That's the whole strategy. They are decidedly anti-democratic. They don't believe in our system of government. They don't want to govern, they want to rule. And no matter how innocuous these comments seem, including the ones by Nicole Malliotakis pivoting from January 6th to gas prices, recognize that the intent is just as insidious as the people who incited the insurrection themselves, and that is to undermine our free and fair elections. She may try to seem reasonable or measured, but there's nothing reasonable about running cover for insurrectionists. She is just as extreme as the farthest fringes of her party's base. To see more videos like this, click the subscribe button right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work, subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. I cover the most important stories each week, and my guest is always one of the top political figures, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, Katie Porter, Cory Booker, and so many more. The podcast link is also right here on this screen, so give it a listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.